wanted to change something, y'all. I don't think y'all can see me. Oh, you can now. There I am. I wanted to change it so y'all could see me this time. Make sure, mic check 1 2. All right, we are good to go. Hold on. One of these days, I'm gonna start without y'all seeing the OBS thing. All right, we are good to go. Good morning, everyone. Somebody already liked the video. I don't know who it is, but thank you. But it's good morning. Good morning. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Oh, that's Richard. Hey, Richard. Good morning. Thank you for being here as always. I'm so late today. Y'all, it's one of them days. I don't know where you are, but if it's cold, you might start seeing, if it's cold like it is here, folks might be struggling to get up like how I was this morning. Let me see if I can fix this because I don't see over here that you can see my face. Okay, hopefully it fixed it. Richard, can you see my face? I know I can't see it, so. Oh well, we're gonna move along. All right, guys, so it's earnings season. And so the biggest ones this week, there I am. All right. The biggest ones this week are going to be, you got your bank earnings, and then we have Tesla and Netflix. So y'all know that Netflix alone could sometimes do something. So those are what we're going to watch as far as earnings this week. And then on our economic calendar, thankfully, we do not have a lot. I think that earnings this week is going to be the big thing, like what's going to actually be bringing the volatility into the market, because otherwise we don't really have a whole lot. We do have some Fed speaking on Monday. On Tuesday, we have retail sales. Not really sure that that's going to do a whole lot, but we, again, like to be aware of it. A couple of more speeches. Wednesday, I don't believe there's anything. Oh, it's building permits. And then the oil numbers. I always tell y'all to watch oil on Wednesday because those oil numbers drop, and usually oil can do a decent move. More Fed speakers. And then Thursday, we have our normal jobless claims. More Fed speakers. It's like the Feds are outside all week next week, but you know, that doesn't necessarily bring volatility. And I believe this is the first Friday in a while where we have absolutely nothing. However, next week will be the monthly expirations. So it's not quad witching because that was last week, but the monthly expirations, y'all do know that this is a time when people can roll them over. So keeping that in mind, that's what you got coming up this week. All right. Even though, because I woke up late, I have to go. So I'm going to try to keep this quick and concise, not like I normally do. Thank you, Richard. Okay, so let's look at the VIX. Now, I left this trend line here because I wanted to show how the VIX has. Last week we were talking about how it broke above, but you see these strong wicks. Y'all know that that's just a fight. The wicks are basically just a whole fight between the bulls and the bears. It looks like the bulls won after this third week. Why do I say that? Because we closed above the trend line, even though it's a long wick here. We closed above the 200, even though we didn't break that high, we still closed above the 200 and this trend line. So now that we've broken out of this downtrend, it will be interesting to see if VIX will continue to move to the upside from here. Okay, we have broken back above our 200. We could end up doing something like this where we broke above briefly and then broke right back below. But so far, it looks like we are staying above it. If you look here, basically, for the most part, we have made another higher low. and a higher high out of this downtrend. So now is when you would start to see if we're going to start to turn and maybe move towards the upside and probably trying to take these folks out. Y'all know if that happens, then that means we will see more red in the market. But looking at the market, it looks like we're not done going down. I do want to talk about seasonality. Seasonally, we know September is bearish into October, but we know that October is sometimes known as the bear killer, where the bulls step in. So we want to be cautious around this time. Yes, the charts are telling us that it's bearish. However, knowing seasonality and also knowing where it is, we don't want people to be too bearish until the charts tell us to stay bearish, okay? DXY had its little correction last week and then basically pulled a Randy Jackson. Well, no, it could do a Randy Jackson because of what it did. It did a shooter, slight TTO with almost a hammer counters the shooter. And then if it breaks from here, then that will be a Randy Jackson setup. So if it breaks above there, it may expand this broadening formation to the upside. But DXY is still going. Still above its 200, so showing us that the bulls are still in the building. NASDAQ. All right, so, even though we've had, I guess 3 green weeks for the most part, if you look at it, it's still in this head and shoulders pattern. Okay, even with that push that we had this past week, it was a real big push. We had like 4 or 5 green days in a row. It did make a higher high. Okay, so if you see this, we are still making lower highs even with that push. So we really need to break out of this downtrend for me to say, okay, yeah, the bulls are switching, October's in the building, we may be, pushing from here. Right now the charts aren't telling me that. We're still in this downtrend and we have a somewhat shooter on the week. So this could still 2 up, 2 down, and come right back on down to this 14,524. Okay, so keeping in mind though that this is our bullish monthly trend line. So if it breaks below this 14,485, then we will be bearish and we can start targeting some more of these downside targets over here. First being this 200, 14,071. Okay, we still have yet to touch it. SPY did come down and test it, but NASDAQ and the Qs have not touched it yet, so it still can do that. Another thing I want to point out is on the daily, you do have somewhat of an inverted head and shoulders here. Okay, this is your inverted head. Your shoulder can come all the way down to that trend line. All right, that same trend line. That's going to be, I believe, your do or die moment. Because if it comes down here, if it breaks here, then we're definitely going to look to take these folks out here and possibly come down to this 200 that we were talking about, and maybe even fill this gap over here, this 13,659. Okay, so that's what we're looking for with NASDAQ. We got a shooter on the week, but possible inverted head and shoulders on the day. It really needs to break this downtrend for me to be bullish. Otherwise, in my opinion, the bears are still in the building. You may have these type of rips, but they are still shorting the rip. If you look at this, and y'all know I drew this last week, go check the video. This touched this perfectly and rejected. I mean, it didn't even, let's scroll it, it didn't even go over it. It touched it perfectly and rejected. So if you think about how bears think in this trend line, then you would know, okay, I'm looking to see if the bulls can hold it here or if the bears are going to step in. The bears stepped in as expected. So now we're going to look and see if they continue or if they continue the fight. When we get to SPY, I'll show you a little bit more about how we're fighting here. All right, so the Dow, kind of the same thing. It's still doing nothing. I've been saying this for weeks. If you don't know how to trade the range, leave the Dow alone. It's in a range. Stuck in a range. However, on the weekly, it has broken below all of the EMAs. So that sign right there is mostly bearish. That shows you that the bears are in control. Not only has it broken below all the EMAs, these shorter term EMAs are turned down, about to cross below the longer term EMAs, and even with the pump that it had, it still rejected these EMAs. So The Dow is mostly bearish. As you can see, we are under our 200. We do, just like NASDAQ, have a inverted head and shoulders here. Okay, that will be held probably right where this quarter and month is opening at, but it could go as far down as 332. That's the do or die point for the bulls to hold it there and make this little pattern valid, and then it could see more upside. Otherwise, this could be an H. So you see this down, go down, up around like an H, and come down. It may not go all the way like that, but basically the H is just you're looking for it to come back down. Take these folks out, possibly these folks as well. Okay, so that is the Dow. IWM. Thing I want to point out with IWM is IWM had a rev strat on the quarterly that it has triggered. Okay, so it's still in its downtrend. You'll see in a bit that it's under its 200. This thing is bearish. 167.53 is what we're looking for the quarter target for IWM. I believe I was looking at something else. This sell side over here at 163 is what I really think it's going to go for, if it can make it past that quarter target. Okay, on the week we almost did an outside week but didn't finish, so y'all know what I say about that. Looking like we're going to possibly finish it that next week, and then it may continue down to keep on going, taking these folks out. And as you can see, on this weekly uptrend that we have broken it. We do know though that sometimes we can break and come back in, but just know that IWM has broken the uptrend. We're well below our 200. This head and shoulders played out, so for the most part it's bearish. Okay, there is no actionable signal here on the daily, but what you may want to do is let it correct some and then catch it for more downside to go to that quarter target. The Qs kind of look like NASDAQ. You know what I did not do here that I could do? Draw that same line. Boom. Look, y'all. And y'all know I'm STRAT, so you know this is not technically a broadening formation, but if I'm not mistaken, Didi draws hers like these. It's a trend line, which to me is kind of the same as a broadening formation. If you drew a smaller broadening formation, this is probably hitting the top of it. But because I do STRAT plus patterns, the patterns are usually drawn from the trend line, and this right here is looking like it's bear flagging. So you got your down and then lower highs. Okay, still in a head and shoulder pattern. So we're looking to see if this is almost shooter will be a 2 up 2 down. Now we do have full time frame continuity, but we're like right around that area where it can fight. Okay, so that time frame continuity can turn really quickly. Again, just like I was saying with NASDAQ, if the Qs have not tested this 200 yet, like SPY. So that's where I'm ultimately looking for. Now you can see here around this quarter and month open, it was fighting. It could definitely flush through there, and that's what I'll be looking for, the 200, 344, and possibly this gap fill here. Otherwise, it needs to break this downtrend and give us a higher high before I think that the bulls are back into control. Okay, the upward weekly trend line is way down here, so you know it still has plenty of room. And then again on the daily, morning Pam, on the daily we have this inverted head and shoulders. So there's your head, here's your shoulder. It's really, again, this quarter and month open can be the bottom of that shoulder, and it can still go. Otherwise, this could be one big old H as well. So again, I am mostly, well, for the Qs, this is not completely bearish to me because we're still above this 200. But one thing I do want to point out is, remember, we do our fibs. I'm the wrong one, y'all. Hold on. There it is, that low to this high. So we still have room. Okay, we've been bouncing around the 23%. We could go to the 38% and even the 50, and we would still only move halfway of this entire long move that we had. So I really don't think that we're done going down. I think that we're going to have more downside, but I am cautious because of seasonality and knowing that earnings season is starting, and technical wise, some of these stocks have hit their 200. So if anything, even if we don't fall, I'm not necessarily saying we're going to push and make new highs from here, but it may even be a fight because the bulls know that they want to buy it here. Like for instance, the way SPY is right now, I would normally tell you not to touch it. Why? Because we are in between EMAs. And I believe that even though we had those green days, this is still a fight. And I believe I told y'all a couple of weeks ago that where we're at is going to be mostly a fight around this area because we're in between two EMAs, because we're right around the 200, and basically that 200 is a fight zone. That's like ding, 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 bulls in the building, bears in the building. Let's go. We're going to fight it out and see who's going to take control. And now we don't necessarily know who's in control. Sort of the bulls if you look at full time frame continuity because we're green. But again, we're $5 away from turning that. SPY can do that in one day. The ATR is $5. So in one day, it could flip this entire green red. So I just want y'all ready for that and waiting. Not quite a shooter here, but there is an actionable signal if it does do a 2 up, 2 down. So you would look for it to break this 427. 427 is going to be a critical point anyway. I believe it's on the quarter. Yep. Move this away. So 427. Oh no, that's 422. And you can see that's why it bounced there. But I do want to point out to y'all on the quarter, 422 is the trigger for this to do a 2 up, 2 down, and we're going to be going right back to that 400, which is why I'm saying I think we're still bearish. I mean, we do have a lot of room to run. I just think that, room to fall. I just think that the bulls are still in the building because of where we are. Okay, so remember that 422. It's about right here is your level. That's your quarter level that breaks this trend, this upward trend line right here, all of that. So key to watch that. Tesla and or Netflix could help to push it in one direction or the other, but that's what I'm going to be watching. So on the weekly, we are right at that 200, even on the daily. Okay, we made it here. We washed a little below, came back above, rejected these. They have also, this 8 has crossed below this 50. If this starts turning down, that's not a good thing. Again, we're in between EMAs, so we want to see it choose a direction. 437 is going to be your upward trigger to the upside. Then we can go for this little itty bitty gap here at 438 and may want that before it does anything else. It could even come back all the way up here to retest this. This says 444. I would give it more like 443 to retest, and that would be the moment on where it needs to push and break above 451 to give us a higher high and break out of this downtrend that we're in. Otherwise, we're looking to possibly take these folks out. Break down to this 420. If we break that, good night. All right, we're going all the way down to that quarter trigger. Alrighty, looking at Apple. Apple looks exactly like SPY. You have your shoulder, you got your head, you got your shoulder here. That's a larger one. Even in this smaller one, you got a shoulder, head, shoulder. Okay. It needs to break above 183 to break that downtrend. Otherwise, it's looking like we may get a 2 up, 2 down. These aren't really shooters, but even if it came down to this quarter and month trigger, that may be where it has a strong bounce at. That 171 also is this 200, so keeping that in mind. Again, this looks just like SPY, except you have this inverted head and shoulders again as well. So you can see where it has bounced several times from this 173.83. That's going to be your do or die level. Then if it breaks that, it's going to come back down to this 200. And then we can start targeting these gaps. Well, it almost filled this gap. Almost. I don't even really count that. But that 200 is our do or die level. So we're going to continue to watch that because we know that some of these are around that. Microsoft almost touched it but didn't quite. Again, you have a similar downtrend here. See how it came up and rejected almost perfectly. So now you got your somewhat shooter, 2 up, 2 down. And it could flip the quarter and the month green. I mean red. Y'all see a lot of these have that same kind of setup there where we had our retracement. Now let's go back to SPY. Okay, so if you think about how we dropped and we draw it out, remember I told y'all last week that 50% of this move was this 436. We hit that exactly and we did not fill this gap and we turned down. So again, I would be looking to see if they try to fill this gap before they completely turn down, or that could have been it because that is the 50% mark. So I know we talk about outside bars. We say, you know, if this had triggered the 50% and it kept going, then we would expect it to finish the move and target that 100%. But we also know that this is a level where they could either short or buy. So that's what I was looking for, to see if they would hold this level. The bears defended this level, so it looks like we're going back down. All right, you kind of have that same thing. No, with Microsoft, it actually, I think this is more like 61.78. So it almost did it, but this trend line is what the bears were using to stop that full force. All right, so done with those. Really quickly, let's look at the sectors. You got XLY. That kind of, it's a fight right now. This is 100% bearish to me though, because even though it's done a bunch of dojis, this is a gravestone doji here. That shows me that the bears are in control. We are below the quarter and the month open, and we close below this 200. So I would look for more downside on XLY. If you look at it on a daily though, you see that we're still fighting this 200. So just watch that, but you have a small gap here to fill. And I believe that, yes, it's almost triggering the quarter to the downside. So that is a decent play. XLK Technology looks like Apple and Microsoft. Again, you have that somewhat shooter. You have this rejection of the downward trend line, looking to see if it's going to take these folks out and come to this 200. XLF Financials, they just had their earnings this week. Well, they started earnings this week, and next week we will continue the earnings. So I honestly won't touch XLF because it's earnings season and they're more expensive. So, but on the daily, you see that we are in a downtrend. We're below the 200. You do have a somewhat inverted head and shoulders here that would need to be held up by 32.92. So that's going to be your level to hold for more upside. Or if it breaks to the upside, you do have this. Oh no, there was no actionable signal there. XLC is not doing anything. For weeks, it has been stuck in this little range here. There is no real signal here, so I really wouldn't touch it. It's a fight. So I would wait for more of an actionable signal there. Right, I believe I saw inverted head and shoulders. Yep, right here. So that's going to hold up until about 66.25. XLE had a bit of a recovery last week. We do have this inside week. However, look at this head and shoulders here. So if it can break above this quarter and month open at 90.43 and flip everything green, then I can be bullish again on it. Otherwise, it's kind of stuck in this area. It's holding this upwards trend line though, so keep that in mind. So yeah, it's been gapping. So if anything, this area right here, I feel like it would need to iron out, and it may do that this week because it's looking like China, honestly, right here for the last couple of weeks. XLU, not much going on there as well. Was able to reclaim the quarter and the month open. May come back up here and retest these, but there's no actionable signal there. It's under the 200, so it's still bearish. XLI looks like, again, super bearish. You have your head right here. We're in a shoulder area. All of these EMAs is below all of the EMAs on the weekly. They're turned down, and it rejected this one right here. So 100% bearish for me. Looking for it to up to down on XLI. So find your favorite industrial stock, and it may be doing pretty well. Some of these I do have on the weekly list that I'll show you guys in a minute for other signals. But looking at it on the daily, again, you do have an inverted head and shoulders here if you wanted to have a short-term pop. But for the most part, it is fighting around this quarter and month open, and we close below the 200. So we're mostly bearish. It needs to hold this quarter and month open for us to for this inverted head and shoulders to really take effect and the bulls to stay in the building. XLV, you got a head and shoulders here, somewhat of a shooter here, but not quite. But you do have a 2 up, 2 down possible signal here that would trigger time frame continuity to the downside. On the daily, we are under the 200, so the bears are in the building, but you do have this inverted head. A lot of these are looking the same, so you know it's almost even looking like we'll have a short-term pop because of this inverted head and shoulders, and we'll have to see if the bears still defend those trend lines. And maybe Tesla and Netflix will let us know which way we're going to go. XLP consumer staples, you have an inside week here after some aggressive selling. I don't necessarily like to play these because, you know, now I feel like it may need more corrective activity. It may even correct to the upside, but you have a doji here, so there's really no actionable signals, no hammer, no shooter. You just know that on the daily we are way under the 200, so we know that the bears are in control. And there's just no pattern here at all. They did TTO these folks out right here though, which is kind of major. So that TTO may cause some corrective activity. I would love to see it correct up here to this 30, and then you can short it right on back down. Then you have XLRE. Real estate finally broke through this bear flag and came on down. It's sitting at the quarter and the month open, so no actionable signal there. But again, you have this inverted head and shoulders that will be held up about 33.53. XLB, shoulder, head, shoulder. This in the shoulder area, you have a shooter here on the week. This is a gravestone doji, actually, not a shooter. And you have a possible Randy Jackson on the week. So that 2 down, 2 down, 2 up, 2 down. Okay. So XLB does not look good. But you do have an invert. Well, no, not really. It's sitting at the shoulder line. So if it breaks down below here, it's dead. XOP, oil and gas, is another one that barely did a 2 up. So, you know, you kind of have an inverted head and shoulders here on the week. This building, it needs to hold 142.82 for it to do that. And there's also a somewhat head and shoulders here, although that could have kind of played out right there. So this could kind of go either way. It's open. You do have your inverted head and shoulder there. So again, I would be looking to fill this gap first and foremost at 141.21, and then see if it holds that. That's going to be your do or die there. XRT retail, nothing here, y'all. Nothing. We got an inside shooter here, but it's green. We're below the quarter in the month, so we know that the bears are in control. Below the 200 on the daily, so we know the bears are in control. We do have room. If anything, this would be out what my next target, this 56.31. Jets still dying, still dying. And I think, BA isn't helping that because BA looks just like this. It's going straight down, just straight red candles in a row. So my next target, of course, will be this 1476. We're below our 200 again. So yeah, it's looking like it's still in that downtrend. It had its brief pop that ended like mid-July, and it may pick up again starting next month once we start getting into the holiday season. But as of now, they're killing it. Same thing with lit. Lit has plenty of room to drop though. So it has triggered the quarter and the month down. Time frame continuity is completely red. You do have Randy Jackson. I mean, I guess if it did do a 2 down, 2 up, and then I think this is the next resistance, this 55. And then it may come on down and fill up this gap, 52.16, and take these folks right on out. It's in a downtrend. And you can see that, we're under the 200. You can see how it's rejecting this 8. Well, it's not even getting up to this 30, but it's basically rejecting this 8. All right, wrong one. SMH, semis. This looks just like the NASDAQ. So I'm not going to really even say the same things, but you do have your head and shoulders. It rejected. We're in a downtrend. I can draw this line real quick for y'all. Rejected it perfectly. Oh, I love when that happens. Rejected it perfectly. So if anything, you may have a 2 up, 2 down, which, means your semiconductors may fall if they do that. But on the daily, I'm sure, yep, same thing. You got an inverted head and shoulders. So it's going to be held by where I need y'all to go and draw where the quarter and the month open on these favorite stocks so you can see. And you'll know whether or not it flips, because a lot of them are close enough where they can still flip. Yeah, they boomed, they hit their trend lines, and then they have died. They died hard. So we just have to see if the bears keep it or if the bulls step in. SOXL, of course, is your cheaper alternative to your semis, but it looks the same. SOXL actually hasn't been doing anything for a few weeks, but we have a gravestone doji here, so we can definitely still die and hit this 1558. It's not looking good for that. And I believe we are under, we're right at the 200, so it's kind of fighting here. Transportation looks a little bit better than jets. However, it's still going down, straight down. You got your shooter here, so looking for that to continue to fall. And China, last but not least, not doing a thing. Still in the downtrend. It can hit this 1922, but most of these are either gapping down or gapping up and then dying. I have left China alone a while ago just because I don't do the gaps like that. But if you are still playing it, again, it is in a downtrend. So just remember that. All right, so we don't have a new 2-week this week. I'm going to go really quickly through the 50% monthly. The ones that are in force are COP, Disney, and GLD. So gold, watch gold because gold has had some strength. Also, a lot of times you do know that if you are playing futures, gold, oh, you're not on the wrong, come on now. Gold, you see, has been running. And usually this runs the opposite of the market. So yes, if you are playing gold, gold is looking really good. On the month, I believe, yes, even on futures, it has triggered the 50% on the month. So yeah, watch gold for buys. This list right here has not triggered yet, but it's close. Let me not say it's close. It has the setup. It has a failed 2 down or 2 up that is green or red and could push. So it's something that we want to watch. I do want to talk about Walmart though. Walmart right now did its 2 down. It hit both of its targets and it came back in. So watching to see if it can hit up to 162.51 and then it will trigger the outside month, which also will help this outside quarter go. So 165 is what I'm looking for Walmart. Last but not least, the weekly list. Oh, y'all, I'm 30 minutes in, I think. Let me see. It don't tell me. But we're doing good. We're doing good. So I'm usually an hour. All right. So really quickly, the weekly list. The sectors that I like XLY. I told y'all about that. Because after all of this indecision, hopefully we make a decision and go down. That's what I'm looking for. XLI has your shooter. Amazon. Now, Amazon doesn't have too much a great setup here. What we have is we have a rev strat, okay? And why Amazon was on my list was because on this daily, we almost filled this gap. Not quite, but we almost filled the gap, and we printed an evening star. Now, when we do an evening star, we've noticed that even though the next day it may come down, it may need a couple more days and still come down. This evening star right here means to me that it may not be done falling. And so I want to catch the rest of that. So if it does come down, flip the quarter and the month, then it will trigger this rev strat and come on down to this 123.14. Okay. It may even come down even further because we do have a big old head and shoulders here. Amazon has a lot of room to fall. All right. If you look at it on the monthly, it will 3-2 down. Okay. So it's one of those, one trigger the other. And the same thing with the quarter. So the weekly can trigger the monthly, to trigger the quarter. We got a nice play here. Hold on for a second, y'all. Okay. UPS. So UPS is at its resting period right now. It's had a long drop, and it's rested for about 3 weeks. I like that because that means that if it's going for its next leg, we've had our consolidation period. So we'll be looking for this rev strat to trigger here. Now UPS thought it was the quarter. No, it wasn't. Was it the 2 week? It was the year. That's what it was. I got to put notes on these things. I wanted to point out that UPS has triggered the 2 up, 2 down on the year, or it's sitting there. So this 155 level is going to be like the fight, because once it loses this, good night. All right. So we're going to watch UPS to see if it loses this 155 level. The yearly target would be 82.12. Now, not saying it's going to get all of that. It's going to cut in half like that. But you see here on the quarter, we got a head and shoulders. Okay. And that level is the level to break. The next level will be 113.15. I think that's the level we will go for before we try to go for 82, if we definitely go for that. But if you look at it, even on the monthly, it's below all of the EMAs. Okay, it's in a serious downtrend. On the weekly, we're below all the EMAs. On the daily, we have been below the 200 for a long time. Okay, so we have our consolidation here, and I am looking for the next drop. Alrighty, so your inside weeks, you got Walmart, who may possibly have a recovery here. And then Walmart, I believe, is on the, yes. So if Walmart, the weekly, the 212 up can trigger the outside month at 162.55 with the target of 165.83. All right. McDonald's, when we have our resting period here, it's not quite a gravestone doji. Look to see if this recovers in either direction. Sideways move we don't want, and we do know that we've had 3 straight red weeks, so it may continue to do another sideways week, or it may do something like, a 212 up and then give us a rev strat. But we're going to watch it. Okay. Pep is Pep is just like Walmart. It gave us, it's had 3 red weeks. It gave us a resting week. But we're looking to see if it's going to expand this broader formation down and take out the next targets, possibly have some recovery or whatever. But again, if this moves sideways, we don't want to touch it. We just want to wait to see it. We want to see it break down and continue that trend. Again, though, Pep may need to do more like McDonald's and have a little more consolidation before its next leg down. Airbnb is still looking good to me. We have a gravestone doji here, and I mean, this thing is tight, like it was almost a draw with that fight. But looking to see it break this 122, breaking 122. This isn't even a head. Well, it's kind of a head and shoulders, more like a lopsided M. But we have all of these to take out. I believe it already triggered the monthly. Right, it's the quarter. So 123.23 is the quarter trigger for Airbnb to come down to 103. Now, again, it may not go down that far, but we do know that if it breaks this 123, so this 212 down can trigger the quarter down. And y'all know we love those. One triggers the other. All right, cat is in a downtrend. You can see this downtrend line that we've been doing here. We have an inside week here that is almost a shooter. So your 212 down could give you a nice decent move because, you know, cat, $10 move right there. And then also I believe it's on my quarter. No, was it the monthly? It was the monthly. Yeah, so we still have room on that monthly. Now again, we might not get to this monthly target of 239, but we know we might melt down there. Okay, so watch cat. Disney I wanted to point out because this is not quite an evening star because it is not at the top of an uptrend. However, this could give you the similar play. You do have a 3-2 down, 2 up, 2 down if it wants to continue this downtrend. However, keep in mind that right now it's kind of basing, and what I'm essentially looking for is that Disney has been beat down. You could almost call this a triple bottom here. However, what happened was we had the double bottom and then this one TTO'd. So if you had that double bottom and then you took out these stops, now are we going to reverse? So the outside month is 85.84 with a target of 92.77. So if it does not do this 3-2 up, 2 down, and it instead moves like say to the upside, you can target those upside targets, but still looking to see if it's going to, whichever way it's going to do, because that could be a decent move. That 3-2 up, 2 down could be decent as well. So some quarter triggers. HD has triggered your quarter down. ON is right there. I mean, it's right there. And that's what I really like is that even though this 212 down, it sort of triggered it, it came back in. I'm looking to see if it's going to trigger again and go on to the downside. You have a beautiful shooter here inside week, so and downtrend. So if it can continue, then that can trigger that quarter. And then finally, XLB, your materials. We are under this quarter and month open, so we are full time frame red. We're sitting right at this quarter trigger. My first targets, of course, is going to be the 74.91, but then, you know, we can definitely continue to come down. So look for your favorite XLI stock. All right. And then on the weekly, I said XLI, I meant to say XLB, oh my bad. On the weekly, you have this gravestone doji. So you see that a lot. Hopefully y'all have seen the patterns and those type of things. Usually have TF Hatter here, but because I was late today, I may have missed him for the day. Richard, if you're still here, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for being here every week, as always, even when I'm late. I appreciate everybody for watching. Thank you so much. I almost didn't come today, y'all. I'm not gonna lie, because I woke up late. I was tired. I've been tired all weekend. But consistency matters. And I do it for people like Richard who show up and support me. And I appreciate y'all so much. So anyway, I will see you all next weekend. Happy trading. Bye, everybody.